These are the two wiring harnesses in the dash that I've been talking about. Main wiring harness here, and then one that looks very similar to it is over here. This was the C harness. Plugged right in, test fitted it before. Backup camera comes off. And yeah, this is the harness that we need to actually retain the backup camera. The cool thing about the Kenwood is if you just plug it in, you don't have to go through the whole setup. You can just go to the camera settings and tap on it, and it'll give you an image of whichever camera you're looking at. Did that real quick just to verify. Weird. I'll give them a call, let them know. That means now we can finish attaching our harness into the car, because all I did was hook up those two harnesses really quick. The rear speaker wires we soldered into that connector that iData gave us. Plugs in. OBD2 is plugged in already. Remote turn on that comes in with the RCAs can go into the remote turn on here. He doesn't have the dash cam or a front cam or anything like that right now. We just like to pre-wire that so that they're there if we need them and I don't have to open this harness back up. USB is plugged in to the factory USB adapter. This used a GM USB, I think from PAC, but everybody makes one. You can get it from iData as well. Antenna adapter is here and is now connected. We still have the light for the airbag in the car. We'll do that last, once we make sure we have all these connections made, which I think we do. So now it's time to unplug this, mount this back into the kit. We'll come back in and start plugging in everything. I also grounded the harness because I said it had that ground wire. I grounded it here to this big frame rail in the back. Here we go. Here's the big dog. When plugging in harnesses, go from the longest harness to the shortest harness. It'll just make things easier so you're not tripping over harnesses and getting stuff in the way. And also try to keep things untangled. It's easy to get stuff tangled up when dealing with tons of wiring like this. When plugging in a Kenwood radio, on the back of the radio, it does not go front, rear, sub, it goes rear, front, sub. And since we're talking about the colored RCAs and position in the back of the radio, we need to add in our Y adapters to this because we are not doing front, rear, and sub, as recalled, we're doing biamp. That means we're going to need white and green, 4 pieces of heat shrink, and a Y adapter that already has a white tip on the end of it. That will plug in. A pet peeve of mine, when people put tape over these RCAs. You know who you are, and I know why you do it. And all I can do is say, please, please, please stop doing it. Tape is disgusting when over these RCAs. And eventually, yes, they will have to be pulled apart. It happens. Heat shrink, yes, it's gonna have to be destroyed to pull it off, but you know what? So is tape. The difference is the heat shrink is not gonna leave a sticky mess all over it. Gray and purple are gonna go together. And the only reason why I'm doing this, it's not so that they don't pull apart, because they're not gonna pull apart. It's because of the metal in the dash. When we're putting this back in there, I don't want this joint to accidentally touch some metal. That could give us the potential for noise or something like that that we don't want. There we go, we have nice 4 connections. They go right in the middle here. Yay. Looks like all our wiring for the radio is connected, so that just means we have the factory connection to do the airbag, the air conditioner to connect. If we go back to the beginning of the video, if you remember when we first took this radio out and we removed that piece of plastic, now you know why. Because there's so much that has to go into this dash that just gets in the way of. Before we snap this in place, we want to test everything to make sure it works. You can just snap in one corner like this, but leave the rest of it disconnected. Use the stress factor, you don't want it to like get to the very end and then it breaks. Still have the cover over the top of it. At this point, it's time to do a little testing, specifically steering wheel controls. We need to see if those guys work. Key in. We also need to test the USB, make sure that that works as well. I'm gonna grab my phone because some of the buttons we need to test for the radio are phone buttons. Turn demo off. When I was talking about testing the camera, hit camera, go to camera assignment settings, pick rear camera, and you can see that rear camera pop up. I can do that without digging into the whole radio. Make sure to turn your demo off. Select finish. We have the iPhone plugged in. You guys know the drill. Press and hold. Ooh, what's the weather like today?
Looks like it will be partly cloudy today. Daytime temperatures will hover around 81 degrees. with overnight lows around.
So if we can get that one phone feature to work, we know all the other buttons are gonna work. That's just how the Nissans are, which is really cool. Put it back onto the source, radio. We got volume up and down. Our steering wheel controls are doing what they're supposed to do. That is spectacular. Reverse is working. Ooh, and you see that little, there's a, I don't know if you guys, this has dynamic lines. You can see there's a little orange line here that's moving. That's really awesome. Put it back in park. So we have CarPlay working, we have the buttons working, the backup camera, reverse trigger works. We knew the camera didn't. USB is working. Fernando, what am I missing? Exactly. Can't think of it. We have some buttoning up that we need to do. Seats need to get screwed down and stuff like that. Clips need to go into place. This seat over here on the driver's side isn't attached yet because we need to do the final listen to. Now the really cool thing about this radio is that it has the most advanced Kenwood EQ or DSP, call it what you like, inside of it. And we're gonna walk through that and set this car up so that it sounds amazing. We went through the process of doing an active front stage. We wanna make sure that we've optimized this sound for its best potential. We'll get all these steering wheel controllers and seat covers off. We'll hop in the driver's seat and we'll walk you through the process of setting that up right now. The first thing that we want to do when we get into the car is check our balance and fader. When you get to the big audio page, it's going to be your third thing down where it says fade, balance, and zone. You can easily drag this across to all four corners to make sure it works and then tap center. It'll take you back into the center. The next thing you want to do is check your polarity. Make sure that all the little speakers are moving the right direction. For that, we use the Sheffield Labs Polarity Pop Track. And then we use that same PT9A to check and make sure all the speakers are moving the right direction. You can also use some apps on your phone. Speaker Pop is one of them. Will allow you to test for that. Once you've got those two things done, then that'll allow you to go in and set up the crossover and be successful at it. We like to make sure that we set up the speaker size, only because this is going off to a customer, and if you don't do that, they might go in and do it, and that could change your crossover points on those speakers. So front is 6x9, and as far as the tweeter goes, it's on dash, and this is going to be considered large because it's a 2.5 inch. Go to the rear, 6.5, lower door, he's getting a 12 inch. Go back to the front speakers. Now we can pick the crossover points for this. We're gonna put that at 80. The rear, 6.5, we'll put it at 100, and then the subwoofer is also going to be at 80. We're gonna leave it at 12 dB because this is just a standard front rear subsystem at the end of the day. We're not really blending speakers between the dash and the door in an active situation. Even though it is kind of active, it's not really that active in the sense like we're not using the DSP. With that set up, we can take a little listen and make sure that we have sound going and performing properly, like that the rear speakers aren't bottoming out or anything like that. One of the other secrets to doing a system like this where we're using an amplifier on the front and deck power on the rear is to actively turn the volume down on the rear speakers. It's 18 watts, but it's going to ramp up a lot quicker on the deck power than it is on the amplifier power. It's just different power curves because of that built-in little crappy amplifier. There's two places in a Kenwood deck where we can lower that. One is in the crossover point and the other one is in the time alignment. So we go into there and we can hit adjust and we go to level, and now we can turn these down -8 dB. We can also turn it down another 8 dB in the crossover settings. Keep in mind when doing it in the time alignment page, it is only relevant to the time alignment page you're on. What that means is, like right now, it's set for all. So we've reduced it in the all page. When we switch to the front left, it is going to go back up to the normal volume. So in this case, we go here, we hit adjust, and we hit level, and we can turn it down there as well. Now when they switch between the two, you're covered. We have sound in all the right places. We need to set up the time alignment. We have a trick for doing that, which is what we're gonna show you now. So when setting up time alignment, there's two different ways you can do it. One is to just go into time alignment or position, digital time alignment, and select front left. The Kenwood is really nice. It does a good job of automatically getting you really close. And if that's cool with you, stop there, move on, and you know, rock out. However, if you'd like to get it more precise, what we need to do is set everything to 0. And for that, we want to start at the front right, put that to 0 feet. Do the same for all the others. You can use a tape measure and you can measure from each speaker to ear. It's cool, take some time. What we like to do is just go to the Polarity Pop Track by Sheffield Labs and fade to the front. And when you're sitting in the front seat here, it should sound like everything is coming out of this corner of the dash. When you add delay to the front right, you'll notice it's adding delay to the left. You keep adjusting that until the popping sound sounds like it's coming out of the center of the dash. Now keep your head facing forward. Everyone wants to kind of look a little towards the center. Don't. Eyes forward. Hands on the steering wheel if you like. Find a nice relaxed spot. Now if you lean into the armrest, make sure you lean into the armrest. Figure out where your position is. When you have it where you think is right, I go back and I play the next track, which is the
My
three
voice should
people.
appear
This one. And her voice should sound like it's coming out from behind your screen. If you got that right, you're golden. Go back into your balance and fader, fade it towards the rear. And now we're gonna do the same thing, we're just gonna do it for the rear speakers. You're gonna keep adjusting the passenger side until it sounds like it's in the middle, but behind you. Put it back in the center once you feel you have it where you need it. With all of them playing, you may need to go in and adjust level at this point. You can come in here and you can bring down or up any specific channel you want.
My voice.
Play the talkie part where she tells you where she or he is at, and if it's golden, you're great. You can easily switch back between all and front left to give you an idea of whether you've gotten it right or not. And that'll set up the soundstage for you and get it, you know, right on. After we've gotten that right, it's time to go in and look at the EQ. We want to get a baseline for the EQ to have some fun with it. The cool thing about this particular radio is it has this 13-band EQ right here that we can play with. And it's like, wow, this is fun. However, if we come down here into sound effects, over here in the bottom corner it says Parametric EQ on and off. We turn that on, we select yes, and then we go into setup, and this gives us a whole brand new fun and exciting thing. It gives us a 9-band Parametric EQ for the whole system, 2 bands for front, 2 bands for rear, and 1 band for sub. This allows us to go in and figure out the really annoying things with 2 bands and make some quick adjustments for them. To do that, we're going to use the U-Test mic and an iPad. We'll use the Educard Test and Tune app to generate some pink noise. When you get done, make sure you program a memory to do that. Hit memory, then the user. Don't press and hold it, you'll erase it. What I ended up doing here, one of the features I really like about this is middlers up in the dash. Middlers always will only play up so high. Middler stands for mid-tweeter, so they're kind of not good at either one, but they're okay. This has a high shelf. A high shelf allows us to grab a whole group of frequencies at one time. It kind of looks like a crossover, and we can raise those all up. And in this case, these speakers up in the dash, we added on front a high shelf, which is moving that whole area up on this so that it gives us a treble boost. As always, now we can play some music and see what we've done, if it makes sense. When you get done setting up the Parametric EQ, if you still want to go in and use some of the presets that come on the 13-band EQ just to color the music and make it sound more fun, you can totally do that. Just keep in mind that every time you raise up, it's going to gain it up. You know, it's going to limit how loud you can play it. As long as you pay attention to that, you're golden. It's a radio. Have some fun with it. It's got a lot of buttons. You can have a lot of fun, right?
That is correct.
That is correct. So this is the quick and easy way to make this sound good. Now, granted, yes, we use the U-Test mic to do that. You can use an I-Test mic. You could probably even use your phone in a basic RTA app to get really close using the Parametric EQ. So this is something you can do. This is how we set up all our radios. It's quick, it's fast, and it's efficient. And we, you know, we get it where we want it, and the customers are, you know, yay! See, you sure gets that.
Yeah.
And for that, Oh, you know what we forgot to show him? The subwoofer. Oh my gosh, we almost ended the show without showing the subwoofer. Conveniently enough, I have a bass track loaded up. I'm gonna run to the back and play you some sub. We're gonna end the video with that. Fernando?
On to the next one, guys.
You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later next time. Bye. Let's go listen to some bass.